And how do you qualify? I mean, can anybody just walk up and say, I need a place to live? How do you decide who gets in and who gets out?
Yeah, well, there's all sorts of federal fair housing guidelines, as you might imagine, but so you have to have a waiting list and it has to be equal access for anybody. But most of ours are income qualified, which means you have to have a demonstrated income of a certain amount, whether it's 20%, 30, 50% of the area median income. So you can't make too much money. You can't have a trust fund over there on the side. There's a whole process to go through that's called income qualification. And then we'll look at your background and say, are you, a violent offender, or do you have a record that is going to allow us to keep you out of this community? Sometimes we'll take you anyway, because frankly, many of our people do, and that's what we're there to help serve. But, if there's violence or sort of a history of really troublesome behavior that's just going to disrupt the community, then we won't, because we really have to make that decision about, we can't choose the one over the many in our communities. The communities, ideally, they're going to be stable. And so our residents are going to have to meet some sort of minimum standards for, I'll say, acceptable community behavior.
You said that very well. I want to make sure I understood something. So you have to have shown some ability to produce income of some kind. You can't just be unemployed, lay on the couch, eat potato chips, and do nothing.
You can actually. If you're destitute, if you're unemployed, unemployable, which of course many of our residents are, that are in the worst sort of sociological or economic shape, okay, they'll get vouchers from a housing authority, or our veterans will get vouchers from the Veterans Administration. So let's just say you're a 60-year-old unemployed vet. You might get a housing voucher from the Veterans Administration, and you could bring that to one of our communities. So about 30% of our residents, I would say, fall into that category of, they're not working, they're operating off of vouchers, and we're doing our best to serve them. And they are, without a doubt, unquestionably by a country mile, the most difficult to serve, the most challenging for the communities. And which came first, their unemployability or their mental health or addiction issues? It's all this sort of, whatever the opposite of a virtuous circle is, it's unvirtuous, I should say. And these things really reinforce each other, and you go from bad to worse to worse to worse. And it's very difficult to get people out of that once they've fallen into it.
Yeah, that is not a black and white thing. That is a super gray, difficult pond to swim in, deciding whether or not they really could be a productive member of society, or could they be a little bit productive? Could they do something? Easy for guys like me to judge that and say, come on now, Sally, you can do something, but can she? I don't, it's debatable, right? And I'm sure you guys struggle with that all the time. I would think.
Well, we don't struggle with the question that you're asking yourself right there. We just accept it for what it is.
Okay.
And if that makes sense. And our approach is, we're going to try to meet you wherever you are, in the context of our ability financially and staff wise to actually serve you. We simply cannot serve everybody that we'd like to serve. We don't have the money, we don't have the units, we don't have the staff, we don't have the expertise. So we really try to limit ourselves to those we can serve. Although with these vouchers, you end up with a lot of people who are really, really difficult. And almost by your relationship with the Denver Housing Authority, or there's a group called the Metro Denver Housing Initiative. It's kind of a clearinghouse for homeless folks.
Okay.
They can sort of require you to take on some folks that you might not otherwise choose to do.
Somebody on your team is having to say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That's got to be a kind of an emotional, tough job, I would think. I mean, that would be hard for me to kind of look at Sally and go, "Hey, you're not in," and then, "Okay, John, yes, good." Ooh, that might be hard.
it's really difficult. I'll just tell you one quick story that is happening for us in real time. We have a resident who was sent to us by MDHI, the Metro Denver Housing Initiative, with a voucher. This person was homeless, came to us with our relationship with MDHI, we can't say no. So that the person has a voucher. It's a single person moving into a 1-bedroom unit. And that person is delusional and thinks our property manager has designs on hurting him. And
she's
so
bipolar, schizophrenic, or whatever.
Right. And so he's very menacing to our property manager, who doesn't feel safe in this person's presence.
I could see it.
But we have a really hard time evicting that person, because we have to figure out what exactly what lease violation he is tripping over. So it's a very difficult situation. And our property management and our resident service coordinator, they're really there to serve this person, but that person is actually threatening to them.
Yeah. Oh, totally.